One thing you can change about yourself, what would that be? Let me repeat that question. If there's one thing you could change about yourself, what would that be? Well, welcome to the third day of the Write Your Inner Story, Rewrite Your Inner Story challenge, which is about what can you do to stop those voices from the chatterbox, which is telling you, don't do this, don't do that, oh, you're not good enough, and instead changing them around to one which is empowering you. And that's why my question is, if there's one thing you could change about yourself, what you believe in, what would it be? Now, I've shown you Jumping Bunny. Jumping Bunny is what I call my inner kid. And, well, basically she's the adopted version of my inner kid, because my inner kid, the actual inner kid, well, she didn't have a happy childhood. She was bullied a lot. She almost got killed. You know, there were so many things that she has seen and witnessed. Also, the discrepancy between both my parents. I mean, one was full-fleshed Dutch, 6'6", 2 meters. And he wasn't afraid of anything at all. And then there was the other one, my mom, who was also Dutch, but Indonesian Dutch. So she had been brought up to be afraid of just about anything and anyone. And that worked. So she was. And when she came here in the 60s, she wasn't accepted because she wasn't blonde with blue eyes. She had dark hair, as in black hair, just like me, and even darker eyes than I do. So she had a problem. Well, yeah, I'm going to say it like this. She didn't feel accepted, and I do believe that for a large part that was true, that she actually wasn't accepted for who she was. I mean, I experienced the same thing. Now, the difference between her and me is that in the decades that I've been growing up, so many people now have dark hair and dark eyes. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if half of the country or more is actually looking like me, but maybe that depends on the areas where you're going. But in all honesty, my grandmother actually on my father's side had red hair and blue eyes. So looking at group pictures, I was always a little bit surprised. Now, having said so, let's get back to rewriting your story. Now, one of the things by adopting this character is I can assign her new character traits. So she is bold, she is determined, she's unfiltered, she is trusting, and she is curious. Now, my inner kid always has been curious and determined. Yeah, whenever it suits her, she can be very determined. Unfiltered, not so much. Yes, I can say the things the way I want to, and especially nowadays, I'll just announce it and ask if people are okay with it. But I will say, especially when it comes to important conversations, I'll just put it bluntly, so it's out there. So I don't hide what I want to express. However, when we talk about certain character traits that we want to assign to our, let's say, our adopted inner kid, and here's the thing, when we rewrite our story and we get to experience the inner kid, and you know, whether it's writing from the inner kid, just letting yourself be your inner kid. And I don't know if you remember, but I made this thing called 7 ways to express yourself. And those 7 ways are fun ways to express yourself. And it's about, for instance, singing or writing or talking. But singing, you know, when you're in the car or when no one can hear you, or as a friend of mine does, wherever you are in a restaurant, just do it. I mean, it's a way of expressing yourself, and giving your inner kid a voice is so important. Anyway, just recently, as in last Monday, I went to a funeral service. And, well, it does happen. I'm always a bit late. This is the result of me. It's hard for me to wrap up the things that I'm doing because I want to pay so much attention to it. Well, in this case, some other things happened too. And I arrived there, and it was very big terrain, and I didn't know where to go. So I asked someone, it wasn't the right place, and then it was beautiful weather. So I sat down on a bench, and I was in the sun, although I was sitting in the shade under a tree, and I was reminiscing, what am I going to do? And in this case, I decided not to do anything. I was sitting there. I was absolutely happy with where I was. And then later I saw one of the funeral people, so I asked them where it was, the one place where I didn't look, of course. And she said, do you want me to go and guide you there? And I said, well, no. And then I expressed why. Now, here is when it becomes interesting, because we are talking about the things you want to adopt. So I didn't consciously adopt Jumping Bunny being unfiltered. I have consciously adopted being authentic and true and open and honest. So I basically said, here's the thing. I don't feel invited to go there. And this had to do with a number of things that had been said to me by the brother of my cousin. So the way he expressed certain things and also put them in the email, it didn't give me that feeling of being, well, let's put it this way. For a few times he said, she doesn't want you here, whereas we had a very good conversation when she was still in the hospital. And then there was the moment that, and he did so 2 times, he called me, and then later he said it in an email, if something is going on, the grandchildren get priority. And I learned at the hospice what he didn't say, but what he did mean was not just that the grandkids would get priority. What he meant was, you are too much, I don't want you there. Now, those things can happen. We are not the best of friends. And, basically, he knows we are not the best of friends. Not that I've said so much, but I just didn't show up anymore, which says a thing or two as well. And, well, I'm not sure what my energy reflects back, but there are some comments he tends to make that I'm like, I'm so done with you. And, well, my cousin also was able to do so as well, and that's why I was like, oh yeah, that's why I didn't hang out with you anymore. Anyway, when I was sitting on the bench, a lot of thoughts came back. It varied from me being like, I don't feel welcome, which was something that I felt growing up. Then there was the feeling of, oh, I'm sitting so good here. Why should I enter? Especially also because, well, I'm deconverted. So Catholic Mass is not my thing anymore. Although there are some songs that I still love to hear. So I was like, just let it happen. just let it happen. I'll see what's going to happen. And that's what I did. And then at some point, my family walked by, and those were actually the people I didn't think about, but I was so happy to see, because we hadn't spoken for such a long time. So we got to talk. I got invited, me, my brother, the others, to actually hang out with them. And because I was there, I was sitting at the bench, it was actually kind of easy, because I could observe everyone going out of the chapel. But the most important message is, why should I show up for something if I'm not wanted there? Also, the confirmation. Is it true what I'm thinking? So by talking to him after we left the hospice, I heard the truth. So I know that I was right. Now here's the thing. What is it that you want to be able to do or not do anymore? Maybe to confirm or not confirm, adapt to other people. I mean, that's up to you, what you decide to do. And I know it's scary to actually express your opinion. So to the other nephew and his wife, I actually said, well, I didn't feel wanted here. I just said it the way it was. And of course, I'm still polite. You know, I went up to my nephew, asked how he was doing. I was still me. I mean, in the hospice, I actually gave him a hug, because I was like, this cannot be easy. And maybe the most important thing is, when I was in the hospital and I could actually have a decent conversation with my cousin, I asked her about, what's the legacy that you want to leave behind? Have you left it behind? And then at some point it was, I want to take a selfie, and I wasn't sure. And I was like, I'm just going to ask it. And these things, I wouldn't have done that back in the days, but nowadays I do, because I knew that this might have been less chance to actually take that selfie, which in fact was true. But also by asking her if she had done it all, she asked me the same question in return, and then getting to talk about certain things, we had a very good conversation, which is going to last on my end forever. It was a good conversation. I'm grateful for the conversation. And the old version of me, no way she would have done this. So again, I'm going to ask you, we talked about what would you like to adopt? Which character would you like to be? Which character traits does your character have? So call it your adopted inner kid. And what do you need to let go of in order to be able to adopt those character traits? So what I have to let go of is being afraid of expressing my opinion. Well, most people who know me will say, you afraid of expressing your opinion? That's not possible. Well, that's been years of hard work. I can tell you that much. But also not walking around with doubts, but basically asking on, that makes a lot of difference too. So I want you to think about that part too. So what is it that you need to let go of in order to adopt what you want to be? But more importantly, what's the one thing you would like to see changed? Because that's the start of rewriting your inner story. Well, if you want to know more, because there are some modules out there, then write down at the comments, I'm in. And otherwise, leave a comment about that one thing that you would like to change. Want to see more of the Rewrite Your Inner Story? Then go there, click on the thumbnail, and if you do so, make sure to subscribe.